Global experience dedicated to bringing people together is what defines Expo 2020 Dubai. Recently, I was lucky enough to visit Expo 2020, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about what I felt was the best part of Expo. What is Expo? In Expo, countries and nations from around the world have their own pavilions or buildings which exhibits the country's own unique architecture, food, culture, flora and fauna, etc. In fact, in Expo, not only countries have their own pavilions. Sustainability, mobility, and many more have their own individual pavilions as well. Other nations which aren't recognized as their own countries also have pavilions, such as Emirates Airlines, the Palestine, etc. There are over 200 pavilions in Expo, and I was able to visit almost 50 of them. While this may not seem like a lot, it took me nearly 3 days to do so, with several thousands of feet. This is because Expo is enormous, since each country's pavilion is huge. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about which pavilions I found were the best. For people's convenience, Expo was split into few districts, each of them representing a certain sphere of humanity. For example, one was called sustainability, another mobility, and another jubilee. All these pavilions, however, met together at the center of Expo, a huge globe. This globe actually was an amphitheater which had shows, drone shows, concerts, etc. during the night. If you really wanted to visit everything at Expo, in my idea, it would take about 2 weeks. Apart from the country pavilions, there were stuff like food stalls, fountains, and waterfalls. Now, if you weren't able to visit Expo, I'd highly recommend going on the 360-degree tours in the Expo website, which I found incredibly realistic and entertaining. Now, in Expo, I bought this handy passport, in which I could get stamped by each country I visited. Now, using this passport as reference, I'm going to be listing the 6 country pavilions which I found to be the best. Some pavilions which I'm sure would have made the list include Russia, Expo's largest pavilion, the UAE, Pakistan, Bahrain, Turkmenistan, and some more. So without further delay, let's begin the list. Number 1, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is Expo 2020's most visited Expo pavilion, with more than 30% of the visitors going to Expo going to this pavilion, and for good reason. This pavilion is the second largest pavilion and held not 1 but 3 whole world records before it's open, including the world's longest interactive water feature. This pavilion begins with a long elevator ride with simulations going on by the side of you and ends with another one. This pavilion looks in my eyes as a book sticking out of the ground with words in Arabic floating on the side. Number 2, the Egypt Pavilion. The Egypt Pavilion was one of those pavilions which took a long time to enter. This pavilion was decorated like a pharaoh's tomb and actually had a replica of King Tut's sarcophagus and an actual mummy of a priest. This exhibit was lit on the interiors with hieroglyphics floating down on the sides. It featured several videos over 4 tall floors and a huge display on Egyptian artifacts. Number 3, the Sweden Pavilion. The Sweden Pavilion has a very unique architecture. It's built as a Nordic forest and is open to the air. It focuses on sustainability and even has a hydrogen-fueled sports car. Hydrogen is known as the fuel of the future as it burns in air to create water instead of noxious fumes like fossil fuels. This pavilion is built out of wood and has several displays between the trees. Number 4, the Morocco Pavilion. The Morocco Pavilion began with a really small elevator ride up 9 floors, and then the whole pavilion began with you climbing down 9 floors on a gentle slope, seeing displays on either side. At the bottom, there was a huge display of what I thought was a display of how Moroccan kings lived. On the way down 9 floors, you could see several rooms, including rooms of Moroccan artwork, Moroccan spices, herbs, and remains of ancient humans. Number 5, the India Pavilion. The India Pavilion was on the outside rather plain, but when you entered it, all those doubts about the pavilion cleared off. The first floor featured mainly ISRO and yoga. Half of the room was dedicated to India's rockets to the moon and Mars, and the rest half was decorated as a sort of garden with several statues doing poses of yoga, fountains, and even a real man doing the yoga postures in an order. After that came a floor about India's economic state, and then India's foreign relationships, and then a floor about Jammu and Kashmir and India's airways. It was a very tall pavilion and one of the largest in terms of height. This pavilion also had a second part in which you could go and buy merchandise from India. Number 6, Switzerland. Switzerland was another pavilion with very unique architecture, as the name wasn't actually written on the pavilion itself. Instead, the national flag along with the name Switzerland was written on the ground, and the building, which was built like a mirror, reflected the flag, which told you that this pavilion was Switzerland. When you entered, you were surrounded by mountains with fog rolling all around you. Later on, you came across a room with a huge elevator, and the people told you that Switzerland didn't have many natural resources, so it focused all its income on education. It then had a room exclusively to developing the young minds of Switzerland. Some pavilions which didn't make today's list include Oman, USA, and New Zealand. I'm really happy that I got the chance to visit Expo 2020. The next one is in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 2023. I'm hoping I could go to that one too. So if you liked today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.